All right, welcome back CSE 3200 Yukon Stores. We are finishing up Chapter 9 on fragments. This is our fifth and final video. Let's see, we have got the fragment all ready to go, but we still cannot run the application because a fragment cannot show its own view. So we are going to have the main activity host the fragment. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to go into activity_main, and we're going to put this in. So notice the top line here, which the default is like a constraint layout, and so far we've been changing that to a linear layout. But here what we're going to do is we are going to put in the line androidx.fragment.app.fragmentContainerView. And also notice that we are going to have the referencing the ID of the fragment container, and this Android name is telling us the where we are going to go to communicate with the other file, the crime detail fragment. Okay, so let's get that in, and when we do, as soon as we get that in, then we should be able to run it and get the app, kind of like this right here, maybe a little bit bigger. No, that didn't work. Okay, so we're going to go into activity.main_, and where it says Android constraint layout, where we typically are overriding that, we are again, but we can keep the Android X, and then we are going to put in fragment.app.fragmentContainerView. Let's see, this line is fine. And do we need the tools? Yes. I don't think we're using that line, at least not right away. So let's get rid of that one. Let's see. The width and the height are both going to be match parent, so we can keep those. And let's put in Android : ID is equal to @+ID/ fragment container _container. All right. What does it not like about that? All right. Actually didn't see before it went away. And then Android name is equal to parentheses, or sorry, double quotes, com.bignerdranch.android.criminalintent.crime detail fragment. It auto-filled. Okay. And then at the, let's see, we got the match parent, we got the main activity. Is that everything? I think it is. Okay. We are going to get rid of the text view. And our end tag is all set. All right, let me double check. Yep, I think it looks fine. So I have an error somewhere. All right, so I had a typo in the word criminal intent, which is strange because I swear that auto-corrected. No, it looks fine. All right, I'm going to try to run it and see what happens. All right, it took a very, very, very long time, but it did run. Okay, so before we wrap this up, there's one more bit of code that I wanted to cover. So let's stop this and get rid of that. But it has to do with the activity lifecycle. So there's a couple of slides that I may not cover here, but we are, let's see, our fragment lifecycle is an awful lot like the lifecycle that we have for an activity, which is actually important. They need to be very much one-to-one related, except for we do have the extra We have the extra methods here, and we also have an onDestroy and an onDestroy view. But the bit of code that we probably need to take care of before we leave this chapter, it has to do with the life cycle onDestroy. So if we have this view that is up front, and because we say we've clicked on list item 1, and so the detail view comes into play, and so it's here. And then I click on list 2. Well, what's happening right now is the detail 2 is going to come up here, and it's going to be in the front, and detail 1 is going to be in the back and completely hidden, and its view is still there in memory. Now, if I ever bring it back on screen, it does get created, or it does get destroyed just so that it can get recreated, but until that time, it is back here using up memory. It's not going to be like a memory leak, but it is using up some resources. It's probably good practice if we could free up those resources if we're not going to need the view. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into the crime detail fragment, and we are going to override the onDestroy view. So it doesn't really matter where we put it, but the book has it right here after onCreateView. I was going to put after onViewCreated, but it does seem like a friendlier space to because of all the braces. So we're going to go with it. Override fun onDestroy view. Pren curly braces. And then we need to super dot onDestroy view. And then we are going to say, okay, so the easy fix to this, and it seems easy at first, is we just release the binding. So we set the binding equal to null. Now, the problem with that is that the binding is not nullable. Okay, let's spell override correctly. Okay, so binding is not nullable. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a back binding in as well as a binding. So we are going to go up here, and we are going to put in private var and then underscore binding is equal to, we'll have it set to of type, not equal to, of type fragment crime detail binding. We will make it nullable and set the default value to null. Okay, but with our actual binding, we are going to change that code. So let me just comment that part out. And we are going to change it to private val binding is equal to, or not equal to, did that again, on 2, 3, 4, and then get pren check not null, the back binding, underscore binding, curly brace. And then we're just going to put in a string, which I doubt we'll see, cannot access binding because it is null. Is the view visible? All right, so if we see that, then things probably went wrong. I need an equal sign here. And okay, so that's good. All right, so where we want to change binding to the back binding is in the onCreate view. So onDestroy view is its opposite. So we're going to change the binding to the back binding variant. And how's that? Okay, that's good. And then we just got to go to the on destroy, which is probably why they put it there, because those two changes are side by side. And we change the back binding to null, and we should be all set. Okay, so that is going to wrap up Chapter 9 on fragments. I will see you guys a little bit later in Chapter 10.